So I would keep it here so we can see yourself. So
So, hi everyone. My name is Alyssa Haber, and we're here with Essence of Medicine. Today, we're going to be talking about bacteria and viruses.
essence of science.
Essence of science.
Yes. So
We're going to break it down even more than medicine.
well, see, breaking down more than medicine. Medicine is a small part of biology. Yeah.
Which is under the larger umbrella of science. You got me.
So we want to go further up.
Let's
We
do
don't
it.
want to break it down. We want to go take the 30,000 feet view of the science of viruses and bacteria. But we just are we are just preventing of Dominic introduce himself.
Yeah, it's like I can remain a mystery. I don't mind.
Please don't.
So-
I'm Dominic Moore.
So, obviously, I'm a neurosurgeon, and you guys are PAs.
Yep,
We
two
are.
PAs.
Yeah, and that requires all of us to go through a tremendous amount of training to treat patients. Patients are human. Humans are animals. Animals are living things. Living things are considered in different categories.
30,000 feet up, we're telling you.
Let me
This is
back
you.
up. See, I had a joke for everybody. I used to say, neurosurgery, what I do is a very small part of medicine, right? Medicine much bigger.
True.
No, medicine is a biology of human.
Mhm.
It's a very small part of biology. Biology is so much bigger.
Oh, yeah.
No, biology is a very small part of biochemistry because biochemistry
Mhm.
can be organic and there
Oh,
can be
God.
other things and so on.
The Krebs cycle.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Let's stay away.
The
Okay.
flashbacks.
And the biochemistry is a tiny part of chemistry because you have inorganic chemistry. There are so many things in the element in the periodic table,
Mhm.
and biology is just have 4 or 5 of them, or chemistry.
Yeah.
Biochemistry has 4 or 5 of them. So now, what if I told you chemistry is a tiny part of physics? How can I say that chemistry is a tiny part of physics?
Because, well, I'm going to assume that you also had to take chemistry before you were able to take physics.
I did.
So there is some correlation of science and math.
What
when
is
you
the
get into
correlation?
Physics.
What is the correlation between physics and chemistry? Chemistry is the behavior of the outer shell electron of an atom. And that's all what chemistry is.
This makes sense. Yeah.
No, that's the
Yeah.
definition. How the outer shell of an electron behaves
Mhm.
defines all the chemical reaction that we consider. But that's not, they have a lot more electrons that we don't even consider in our chemistry. But now we understand that based on quantum physics calculation, we can predict how a chemical reaction will work or not. No, this is like, knowing the alphabet of chemistry. Chemistry becomes trivial if you can calculate how those electrons behave in one or another situation. That is why the spectrometer works. Spectrometer, literally, you send a mix of thousands chemicals and you put them in a magnetic field, and then you see how they are reflecting. You see how they are based on the connection that the outer shell electron and other electrons have, not only outer shell, you see how they are behaving. So you send them through a machine and they tell you everything that's in that thing. Because we understand how those atoms behave when they have certain electrons interacting with each other. Like if you have a certain poison, we know those poison, even complex poison, they behave in certain way because the electron in those atom of those poison are connected to other atom in that poison
Mhm.
that they have their own fingerprint of how
Mhm.
they're behaving. So
Hmm.
none of the things we would do is possible if we didn't know how they are behaving. All of that thanks to physics. Now, when somebody goes and say, "Oh, those brain fart," or what those calculation
Me
and
right
so on,
now?
Mhm.
half of us wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for that. Now, physics, said chemistry is a small part of physics.
Mhm.
Physics is a tiny, 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 tiny part of what?
Biology?
No.
Math? Oh, I
It's
was
not
like,
math.
or biology?
Math-
Oh,
oh.
physics is
Ooh.
heavily math, but
Is a tiny part of math. Physics is always a special kind of math.
mhm.
Mhm.
In math is general, like you can go 5 dimension or 25,000 dimension. But physics deals with only 3 dimensions,
Mhm.
maybe one more, or if you do string theory with 11
Yeah,
dimensions,
yeah.
11, but that's it. But math, you can go 25,000 dimensions. As a matter of fact, the Surya or artificial intelligence system that we are using has 1,600 dimension mathematically calculate to understand when you talk to the patient what those words mean. Every word become a dimension. in that. So
Mhm.
you see, math is helpful. Now, mathematic is small, tiny part of philosophy. And philosophy is a product of our brain, which I'm an expert of. You see, the loop is complete.
What's the
Okay.
difference between God and a neurosurgeon?
God doesn't know he's not a
Okay,
neurosurgeon.
okay. Let's let that one be,
Okay,
okay?
now let's go 30,000 feet. Bacteria and viruses.
Oof. Yep, let's do it.
So where do we start?
Well, let's,
Literally, when do we start?
wow,
Primordial
millions
soup.
and millions of years ago.
Billions? What about billions?
Billions. I
How old
meant
is-
billions.
How old is our planet?
You have a different
47
answer
billion
than
or
I
something like
do.
that?
No, science. I have a
Science
science
answer.
answer. What is the science answer of how old is our Earth?
It's like 47 billion or something like that.
No.
Silly Dominic.
About 4.5, 4.7 billion
Okay.
years.
Oh, move the decimal over. I mean, I know the decimal is hugely important. Don't get me wrong, but at
Just
least I
a
know what
zero.
the numbers.
So 4.7 billion.
Wow.
When did the life based on current knowledge, when did life started on planet? 4 billion years ago.
And you said that the planet is 4.7?
4.5, 4.7.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
those 0.2 billion years. is
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
That's a long time.
There's not really somebody back
Not-
there with
not-
a calendar who starts
Yeah.
the stopwatch for us. So.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so life started as soon as the planet cooled down enough for liquid water to exist. We know pretty soon life started.
Hmm.
How did life start?
One singular cell.
That's our best
Atom.
current knowledge. Our best current knowledge is that was even more rudimentary than that.
Okay.
Our best current knowledge is that, there was a famous experiment.
Oh,
Do you want to say the, go ahead, say the experiment.
I don't remember the name, but it's like with lightning and seeing how we kind of like
Yes.
replicated it like mitochondrial cell or whatnot.
Mitochondria,
no,
the
no, no.
powerhouse of the cell. I just had to put that in there. Okay.
No. That experiment, they put some anorganic material in a closed loop.
Mhm.
They circulated it, they heat it up, they increased the pressure, and they passed the electric arc through it.
Mhm.
And they just ran it for about 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
Then they found 95% of the things that life is made of just by doing that. And
Interesting.
early Earth had all of that: lightning, pressure, water, high temperature, volcanoes, and so on and so forth.
When was this experiment ran? Like how long ago was it?
Oh, this is a long time
70s,
ago.
80s.
So not that long
Not
ago.
that long, yeah. So, but practically, we know from everything we know that about 500,000 years after Earth was then cool enough to have liquid water, we had lots of chemicals there, And you know how it is. If you have lots of chemicals, they interact with each other in any possible ways. Now, what I'm going to tell you next is a recent knowledge. Life most likely started as RNA. So what's the difference between RNA and DNA?
How many
Strands.
strands? Yeah. There's
And
one
so-
stranded is typically RNA is one strand, whereas DNA is a combination, which is two strands.
Okay, so, but what does DNA does? What does RNA does?
To my knowledge, it's been a little rusty. DNA will then split during the process and RNA then transcribes it to create a duplicate DNA.
RNA, no, well, our genes, human genes are DNA.
Correct.
Mm.
Then it's split like a ladder, it's
Mhm.
split to ladder, and you make literally a copy of that DNA into RNA
Yeah.
transcription.
And
That RNA then goes to a ribosome. Based on the code of the ribosome, it makes a protein.
Mhm.
What if I told you RNA itself can have enzymatic effect?
Well, that would make sense if you're.
But no, this is new. This is big. This is absolutely immense because until now, we always thought only protein can have enzymatic effect.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if he's just
But if
the
you-
messenger half the time.
The RNA has the ability
It's
to
the
help make.
information. No.
Yeah, it's
RNA
it's
goes
raw
to the
data. What is
ribosome.
it?
See, the ribosome is like a reading made of
Correct, the
protein.
transcribing of it.
No,
or
the
the translation.
ribosome translation, yes. When you make a RNA from DNA, a protein comes, reads the DNA, make a RNA of it, copy of it. That's just the information. That information goes to ribosome, has 40 kilodalton, 60 kilodalton. They come together, they read it, they line up the things and make a translation of that
Correct.
into protein. Then the protein goes and does the job in
Mhm.
our cells.
So I'm kind of curious about this enzymatic effect because you basically just told me that the text message I send to somebody to get something done, now the text message can just do it, like that just does it.
That is
So-
the beauty of what we just found out, that some RNA, not all RNA, some RNA, they can fold and become like an enzyme themselves.
Huh.
Do you know what that means?
Cow disease types?
No, that's prion. Let's not mix
Prions.
them. That's protein. So let's stay with that. Our best understanding is when the life started on planet, it was something that could replicate, but as well have enzymatic effect.
Mhm.
Life started most likely as RNA on the planet, but then the life got better and better. And then life discovered, there is something that can give the genetic code in a more stable way. And there is another thing that can do enzymatic activity so much more efficient. And then we had DNA for passing the genetic and protein to literally do the enzymatic activities. But life most likely started as RNA and evolved to become giving genetic information in DNA and enzymatic effect in protein, and
Mhm.
RNA still being between connecting these two together.
Okay, so that's interesting because it's a nucleic acid based compound, and yet that's what we find in everything. So everything that lives. So I guess it makes sense that would kind of have to start first if it's going to be everywhere, because you imagine all these things would have to have an independent
We have no
invention
idea,
of it.
though. We have no idea. This is recent, not very old knowledge
Mhm.
that, see, the nucleic base of the DNA
Mhm.
is
Yeah,
adenosine,
4 pairs, pyridosine.
cytosine, and guanine.
Correct.
Mm.
They make on both sides, cytosine to guanine and thymine to adenosine, they make a very stable connection,
Mm.
and that keep the DNA stable.
Mhm.
Imagine if our DNA wasn't stable. Give me a situation where DNA become unstable.
Trisomy 31 or 13, or like Down syndrome. type.
No, I mean,
Unstable.
how can I make your DNA unstable?
Have you seen my friend Nuclear Radiation?
Yes, yes.
I have not.
I hope you don't have to.
I give you nuclear radiation.
Sure.
destabilize your DNA, you'll die. You literally die
Mhm.
because you cannot make anything else and die.
Mhm.
Now, imagine if DNA wasn't stable enough that every solar radiation, every little thing could destabilize that. That's what RNA is.
Mhm.
The RNA is one strand because instead of thymine, if you have uracil,
Mhm.
do you call it uracil in
That's
English?
how I call it. Was
Uracil,
uracil.
yeah, uracil, and then it doesn't create a strand. It's not a stable strand,
Mhm.
and when it's because imagine if you have two strands, something knocks off one thing, but the other side tells what it should be. We have an enzyme that come and correct that.
Mhm.
But if you have only one strand, there is no correction. If you knock something out, you're done.
Mhm.
Okay, so but that one strand can replicate, still can replicate itself, but more than that, that one strand can as well fold, become a protein itself. Two strand folding, not happening.
Mhm.
It can fold only in one way and one way only, helix, more or less.
Okay. So it's not
But-
gonna. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, you see that there?
Mhm.
Now all of a sudden, something that can fold, become a protein, and can replicate, become a genetic information, life finds out that, oh my God, if you make a double strand, that's so much more stable. By the way, if you translate it in something else like protein, that becomes so much more diverse.
Mhm.
You don't have only 4, you have 19 amino acids. They
Mhm.
can make connection that the one strand of RNA could never do. Then life flourishes. So what is the time frame from 5 million years after Earth is cool enough to create life to the single cell start exploding on the planet? It takes just few 100 million years. Life as a
Okay.
one cell explodes on the planet. How long did we have one cell organism on planet before two cells decided, hey, together we can do better? How long did that take?
Honestly, I don't know, but part of me wants to say it gets exponential because once we go from all right, we just have
Like,
RNA,
figure it
we
out.
have a one single cell, and it goes, one's kind of good, but what if we did two? I
So
like to imagine
let's
it's
start
pretty
with that.
sooner.
Earth start, half a billion years later, we have a life.
Okay.
How long after that do two cell comes together and say we are going to have multi-cell organism?
I'll be optimistic. I'll say like 5 to 10 million.
5 to 10 million.
Mhm.
Okay, what about you?
I know I'm just lowballing it. So I'm gonna go with 500 million. Throw it out there. Half a million.
Half a billion.
Half a billion.
Okay,
yes.
so
Might as well.
life starts. Half a billion years later, we have life. You say tens of millions years we have multi-cell. You say half a billion. We have. What about 3.5 billion years?
Yeah, I knew I was wrong.
Bro, who's lazy out here? Get together, y'all. Single
Yeah, I know.
cells good do too. What are you doing?
But no, this is how long it took for life just go from RNA to cells to bacteria
Mm.
to viruses. This is how long it took. So about 780 million years ago, life started as multi-cell organism, and then it flourished. It became, how many million years have we had flowers? 150, 200 million years. How many years before we had trees? About 400, 500 million years. When we had the trees,
Mhm.
life didn't know what to do with cellulose.
Mm.
So they piled up,
Yeah.
piled up. They became coal. So life tries everything, but for almost 3 billion years, the majority of the life on Earth, the life was one cell organism.
That's just so hard to comprehend. Again, as
We have
but
evidence. that-
knowing what we know, and you go, well, this little tiny pinky has how many bajillion cells in it? Like trying to wrap your head around even going back to see what one cell.
Mhm.
Like I can't even think.
It had to be colonies, right? Like we're talking the colonies of single-celled organisms, not protozoa running
I'm
around.
talking about even like Z stars. We are just colony of cells.
Yeah,
For 3 billion years, all life was a single cell
that's
fighting for survival.
insane to me.
Mhm.
That okay.
Yes,
All
it
right.
Now, but once about 780 million years ago, life thought, okay, if we get together, we can take advantage of all the other one cells. Like
Mm.
we are bigger, we are stronger, and so on. Then it exploded. It exploded. Like, we went from the starfish, which is not a fish really,
Mm,
to sponges, to
mm.
you and I, or mammals,
Mm.
in just few hundred million years. It just exploded. Now, but we are not going to talk about that. We are just going to talk about the bacteria and viruses. Do you remember that 3 billion years that bacteria, one cell organism,
Mhm.
are there? So what is the difference between bacteria and viruses?
Bacteria have a nucleus, they're alive, whereas viruses are more so they need a host to stay alive.
Yeah, there's the membranes on bacteria,
So- Bacteria are practically full in themselves. They have
Mhm.
literally all the biomechanism, biochemistry that makes the life.
Mhm.
Whereas virus is generally only genetic material that makes life possible, meaning that
Mhm.
they need all the factory of the cell, all the chemistry of the cell.
Mhm.
So they practically, when a virus goes inside of a cell, it makes the cell the life version of the virus,
Mhm.
because that cell has only one function at that point, to produce more viruses.
Yeah.
Or does it? So the question is, when you go to school, that's what they teach you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Bacteria is alive, virus is not alive until it get to the cell, and then it destroys the cell, and that cell is become an infected cell, and only have one function is there,
Mhm.
to produce more viruses. The cell dies, virus replicate, and then explode, and then the virus goes on and on and on. So is that the whole story? Obviously not, because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going into
I'm
this.
kind of curious because
I'm going to blow your mind today. because-
yeah, you just told me there's a sequel to my favorite novel, so
Yeah. So see, imagine now. You remember I asked you today morning 3 questions. What were those questions, or what were those statements?
I know one of them was, what is the most, not powerful, but the most
Successful.
bacteria, and
What is the most
we
successful?
did not look these up.
Good,
We
good,
did
good.
not look
I'm
up.
happy. I'm proud of you. So, what is the most successful bacteria? What was the other one?
most successful virus, and then how they're related to game theory,
To game theory.
which was I'm kind of excited because I know a little bit of what game theory is, so I'm excited to see kind of where we get to this.
So, let's talk about it.
Mm.
Game theory, the prisoner dilemma. What's the prisoner dilemma? You and I, there's multiple version of prisoner dilemma.
Yeah,
But one version is you and I, we go commit a crime,
Mhm.
and if the police comes, it squeeze me and squeeze you. If we both are silent, they cannot convict any of us, we win.
Mhm.
If one of us start talking, he get off, the other one get the full sentence.
Mhm.
So we are overall better to cooperate than damage each other. There's another version of prisoner dilemma that, and I made a TikTok about it actually, is that how we deal with each other. Imagine you come to us to tell us that, if we cooperate, each of us get $20.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
And if we agree with each other, if one of us doesn't agree, that person gets $30, the other one gets nothing. If we both disagree, we both gets $10. So practically, we know cooperation is better than not cooperating.
Mhm.
But the trick here is, if one of us is savage, like,
Mhm.
say, I don't want $10, 20, I want a $30.
Yeah, give me the more
So
money.
he says, yeah, let's cooperate. I said, no, don't cooperate. I get the money. But then imagine that game repeats and repeats and repeats. So
Mhm.
what is the best way in game theory to maximize the advantage of, now imagine there are not only you and I are playing that game. Imagine there are like millions and billions of other pairs are playing that. And they have done that on computer. They have made computer program about that. What is the best way to, now, do we cooperate? Do we break the cooperation? What is the best way to overall, for me personally, to win here? Should I just aim for that $30 or should I cooperate and get $20? Should I one time, every third time, every fifth time, try to get all the $30? What is the best strategy? What do you think?
I make everything more complex than it needs to be. So it comes down to if it's me selfishly or me, I can't even do that. As a personal goal, I always come down to what's best for everybody in the long run, and what's best for me typically comes down to.
And they have done
2020.
rondos. That is truly the natural best win again and again and again. It doesn't matter how you tweak this, cooperation is always better. Now, there is a tweak to that. Imagine if I break my word and I rat you out, or if I think that the best strategy is repeat what the last time your opponent or your partner did. So if you break your word and take all $30, next time I'm going to as well break my word and you punish you. But then if you come back and cooperate and then cooperate again, they have run numerous kind of scenarios that every 10 times punish it forever, never punish and so on. But the best strategy is repeat what your opponent did the last or your partner did the last time. But overall, that's the best winning strategy individually, but cooperation always better, meaning that you put 1 billion of us out there, those people who cooperate will be stronger and better than people who don't cooperate. So in nature, cooperation is forever better than not cooperating. Now, let's come back to that. Virus get into the cell, destroys it, and replicate itself. Is that cooperation or is it savage?
I call that savage.
Okay, that's savage, right?
Sounds like $30 to me.
Yeah, that's $30 to you. But game theory says that's not the best strategy. The best strategy is, now let me ask the question this way. You are in an island, there are 100 deer and there are 10 wolves.
Okay.
What is the best strategy for the wolf? Go and kill and eat all the 100 deer, or just eat enough to survive, let those deer populate more and more and more? What is more or less, that is a cooperation. We don't eat you all.
Yeah.
Because if we eat you all, we're all going to starve and die. We are done.
That's why the food chain gets narrower towards the top, you know? You can't sustain
Ebola. You guys know Ebola?
Yeah.
What is the death rate of Ebola? What is the death rate when you get infected? What percentage of the patient die? Ebola is a virus.
Yeah.
Get infected. If you get infected, certain number of the people will die. What is that number? 95 to 97%. Yeah. If you get Ebola infection, 95 to 97%, you'll die.
Jeez.
So it is like a wolf that eats its a whole deer on the island.
That's a failure of virus.
Ebola burn itself out of substrate. What is the most infection disease virus? Influenza. It makes you a little weak, not too bad. You still function, you have a runny nose, but you give it to 500 people, you don't
still go to work, not knowing I had influenza.
So it's a successful virus, but is it the most successful virus?
There's got to be
question.
There's got to be one that you just don't even notice that you have. I mean, there's types of HPV, right? Types of HPV that you just kind of live with, like cold sore, for example. You know, you just have it.
So guess what? What is is influenza? What is the successful having the most copies out there?
Yeah, being able to continue to stay on this earth
forever and duplicate itself.
I would agree. Influenza doesn't seem like it's going to be going anywhere.
Oh, common cold, influenza, all of that. So is that the most successful one?
I wouldn't put my money on HPV. I don't know if I'm like 6 or 8 or something.
There are more HPV than common cold or influenza. I doubt
I
that.
don't.
I
Probably
doubt
not.
that.
Probably not.
Well,
So
what do
you get diagnosed with a common cold
what
versus-
circles do you?
Hey, listen, I'm just saying,
traverse?
but how times are you getting tested for it when you don't even know? How many people just get a cold sore and just go, I'll just leave that alone.
It's more like once you get the cold sore, it's kind of a dormant.
Okay, none of that are the most successful ones.
What do we got?
What is the difference between exons and introns in our genetic? What is that?
Where it's displayed on the outside exit. or
Exons, introns.
Interons on the inside.
No, there's a better definition of that. You know that our like how much base pair? No, okay. Well, we have 23 chromosomes, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
We have how many? We have 200 billion base pair.
Mhm.
How many of that code for a protein? How many of that does not code for protein? That is the definition of intron versus
Okay.
exons. Exons, introns, they don't make protein. Exons, they express themselves, make protein. And maybe I'm using the wrong German word for that.
I was gonna say it's sounding familiar, but it's not quite ringing the same bell.
Okay, well, no, that's
Yeah.
important. We want to give the important information.
Hey, I got ChatGPT right up there. Use your resource.
Yeah, no, they say introns and extrons.
Oh.
So exons.
Exons, not and yeah.
Introns and extrons. Okay, so
Exons.
Okay,
Exons,
okay,
okay.
okay.
Yeah.
exons.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
What's expressed and what's not expressed.
Yeah, what's expressed and what's not expressed. So from all the base pair, 200 billion, let's say, how many of them are exons and make protein? How many of them are introns and make no protein?
Like a couple thousand, a couple 100,000, something like that.
The percentage wise.
Oh,
I feel like there's, again, in my head, more introns, more internal stuff, but I don't think that's how I'm.
5% of our genetic material makes protein.
I was gonna say 4. I was
95%
gonna
of
say
that-
4.
Trust my gut.
Nine-
5%.
95% does not make any protein at all. Could we live, like literally, if I'm telling you that, could we live if we would could we make a human, we cut all those introns they make no protein, they're not used. If we would cut all of that, could we make a human that has only that 5% that makes a human?
I feel like we would make like a shell that lasts for a little bit of time, but then wouldn't be
No, we
stable.
couldn't. The short answer to that, no, we couldn't, because those 95%, they don't have proteins that they code, but that is what makes a one cell to you. All of that is needed at certain point in your time. Some of them regulate, some of them do other things. They don't express a protein, but all of that is needed, or the vast majority of that needed to go from one cell that was your dad and mom getting together to make you to trillions of cells that are you right now.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Now,
So it would just kind of like make a thing, like a blob of sorts that would supposedly be similar with the same phenotype or whatever, and then just not work after half a second.
Yeah, well, they work at certain point, at certain time, in embryologically, something else, and so on. So if you just keep cutting them, you cannot make a human that can go from one cell to who you are.
Yeah.
What if I told you it's about 70% of those genes, those base pairs, are previous viruses?
Now I got it. By the way you said it, but in my head, that doesn't quite make sense yet, so I need.
So-
to
I mean, okay. Hear me out. This is kind of where I'm pretty much only rationalizing it because now I think it's a possibility. So I'll be very honest at that. This is not an independent thought in the slightest, really. But the idea of a virus that comes in, it gives me some genetic material
That's beneficial to you.
Yeah, and it says, "Hey, you like that, right? You know, this is a good relationship between both of us. You wanna keep this because this makes you advantageous in your ecosystem." And I go, "Well, sure, buddy, stay along for the ride." Yeah. That
Cool.
I get, that makes sense. I would probably entertain that interaction an infinite number of times if I keep getting better.
My issue is I just don't correlate viruses as being good.
You see
You
that
know?
there? That is your school that taught you wrong.
Exactly, because
So-
I don't think like.
You always, you're a PA,
Yeah, I know.
you learn human diseases.
Uh-huh.
You only learn about that the tiny, tiny fraction of bacteria and viruses that make you sick.
Mhm.
Whereas you should know by now that for every human cell that you have in your body, you have like a million
Of
Mhm.
bacteria.
of bacteria.
Yeah.
So you're just made of bacteria with some human cells.
Mhm.
Okay.
See,
So and without your microbiome, you could not live a day.
No, are you kidding me?
So so that is, you see that there, we went from bacteria and viruses are killing you, they're bad for you. It is that, uh, first of all, without them, you wouldn't be you. Secondly, 99.9% of the time, they are what make you you and helping you to really survive.
absolutely.
I kind of want a t-shirt now that says my best friend is a virus. Although I don't know if that would really go over well.
So, you know, let's put it that way. It's a harmony that is so
Mhm.
magical
It's a
here.
good word.
The harmony, like you get a handful of water from the ocean. You have billions of billions
Mhm.
bacteria
Mhm.
there. For every bacteria that you have there, you have like a million or 10 million or 100 million viruses.
Huh.
What is the most reason bacteria die? Viral infection.
Oh,
Have you
okay.
heard of the word bacteriophage?
Yeah.
These are
Yes.
viruses that infect bacteria. So for billions of years, there has been a harmony. The best bacteria survive and the most tricky
Mhm.
viruses survive. Those bacteria and viruses in a game theory like situation, prisoner dilemma, they interact with other
Mhm.
living being. Those that cooperate always win against those that go earth, scored earth
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of way. So that is why life is getting better and better and better. Not imagine it was just a savage thing. So and that is as well a reason those economies that they cooperate, they don't go savage, they do
Yeah.
better. Same thing that applies to the game theory of prisoner dilemma
Mhm.
applies to everything else. Even if it gives us 2% advantage over millions of years, those 2% advantage, they give us a huge head start
Mhm.
compared to those colonies, those humans, those animals that they don't cooperate
Mhm.
and they died out comparing to us. So, and that is no different for bacteria and viruses. So, bacteria exchange genetic material with other bacteria. Bacteria exchange genetic with material with viruses.
Mhm.
Many times those bacteria and viruses, they go savage.
Mhm.
But over in the long run, those that cooperate win over those that are savages.
Yeah. Amanda's not here right now, so I'll give us a little reality television check for this. This is kind of like if you're watching Survivor or something like that, and you watch two people team up, they have a better chance of making it through challenges than they do if they just start stabbing each
Hunger
other.
Games, Hunger Games.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, like if you and I team up against him,
We still lose. Don't
we
try.
still lose.
Don't try.
I tried.
I will make $30 off of your corpse.
Try.
No,
Yeah.
but
This prisoner will sell you.
But generally, cooperation always pays off.
Mm.
So now we talked about, and that is the actually that the universe for itself, this macroscopic level of how that cooperation, and it's not just all chemistry.
Mhm.
Okay, sun gives us energy, and there's a limited amount of energy, and everything is fighting for it. Those group of bacteria and viruses that cooperate, they win better, they get more resources. And now talk about bacteria and viruses. Now, we talked about what virus is, right?
Mhm.
Now, nature tries everything. We think that the actually RNA viruses are the first thing that exist, and they had enough enzymatic activity of their genetic material, RNA. So retroviruses, we call them retroviruses now,
Okay.
most likely are the first viruses that exist. Now,
Interesting.
we have now RNA viruses, we have DNA viruses. Now, how do the DNA viruses came to be? Did the RNA viruses become double-stranded, become DNA viruses, or did the bacteria eventually lose everything else? And they say, hey, look at there's so many factories here. I don't have to bring my luggage, I can just get into here, eat here, get there, eat there, and so on. So nature tried
I
both of
hate
them.
how smart we are.
I love that
How
idea.
smart nature is.
Why can we get home when there's food outside?
Nature tried both. Nature tried small viruses that it just add more genetic material, more.
Mhm.
They became big viruses. And those viruses, we call them, we started knowing them about pox. Because
Mhm.
pox, we always knew what pox is.
Mhm.
That one of the first viruses that we could identify because it's huge. It is like ginormous. Okay. But then as well, nature tried something else. Nature tried those bacteria that said there's enough of the bacteria around. I'm not going to have this. I'm not going to have that. I'm going to have just go in and just use it and then be done with it. Now we talked about the most successful viruses. What are the most successful bacteria?
My first thought is anything that has now become able to be resistant to antibiotics.
I mean,
But-
I like the guys in my tummy and on my skin.
Strep, Pseudomonas. I
They are
mean,
the most successful bacteria?
no, probably not.
No. Do we have more Pseudomonas or do we have more regular E. coli in our guts and so on that don't make us sick? Which one do we have more?
Probably E. coli.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As well, for the bacteria, those that don't make us sick and
Mhm.
cooperate with us are more common.
Yeah, so the ones that live in our bodies.
Yeah.
That they live of us, but they help us as well. So we want them.
Correct.
Mhm.
What is the most
In-
successful gas? The gas that you always want to be there.
Yeah.
Oxygen. Yes?
Oxygen?
Is that the most successful gas?
Gas.
How's
Oh,
guess?
gas.
I was like, yeah. Okay, so
I mean, I do like
yeah,
oxygen.
so E. coli is everywhere and so
Mhm.
on,
Mhm.
or staphs are everywhere.
Yeah.
But is there a most successful bacteria?
Strep?
Wow.
MRSA?
I mean,
No,
you got
those
me
are- make you
people.
sick. If you fight them, you stay away from them.
Mhm.
They kill their host and
True.
so on.
So it's
So
something
they
that's
can something
successful.
that is more universal, something that is more universal than your regular microbiome.
oh my God.
We're gonna feel so
That
dumb.
will
I was gonna
that will
say,
blow your mind.
We're gonna feel so
we're not going to
dumb.
call mitochondria bacteria.
Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
telling my mother gave me bacteria?
Your mother, by the way, from your father, you only get the genetic information. You get from your mother all the cell structure.
Mhm.
And have you ever did you know that mitochondria, they have their own DNA that is
Mhm.
circular?
I need a second.
Did
I
you
need a
know
second.
that?
I need to put my brain back together.
Yeah.
It's just-
We could probably have a whole podcast just on the mitochondria.
Yes, but mitochondria have exact structure of other bacteria. They
Comes
don't have a
from the mother.
nucleus. Their DNA is circular, meaning circle, like
Mhm,
a ring.
mhm. Yeah.
And they have cell wall that is very much resembles the bacteria wall, and they have the same size. There's a mitochondria is the same size like a bacteria.
Yeah, I now that you say that with the crazy advancement
So
we
at
have. in
certain point, our cells are taking glucose, burning them down, and then make energy and live. And then eventually this one bacteria comes to one cell that says, hey, you see how I'm doing it so great? Let's
Mhm.
work together. I make for every one ATP that you make from glucose, I can make you 8. I'm so efficient.
This is it. You're telling me my ancestor cells watched this other guy who was outsourcing his ATP production and they went, this guy is so good. We need him in our company.
No.
We'll poach him. We'd have come here, man.
And listen, only one cell had to do that for all the life we know. Mitochondria in the cells, more or less, or in most of animals, is the same.
Gosh,
Only
MVP.
one cell have to do that. That cell outperformed every other cell that was on the planet, and we are descendant of that. When one mitochondria bacteria and one cell that they decided they want to work together. Talk about game theory and prisoner dilemma.
3 million,
My
5 million.
God,
years.
I'm just like that. Those two prisoners said, "Hey, we're not gonna just get off with this one. We're gonna rule the world."
Yeah, yeah,
Literally.
yeah. So, the most successful bacteria is
The
mitochondria. What is the second most successful bacteria?
Honestly, I don't even know. My jaw is still on the floor.
I'm gonna give the wrong answer.
Very similar to mitochondria. Does the
nucleus?
opposite.
Oh,
That's the opposite of mitochondria. What does mitochondria do? It takes
the powerhouse of the cell.
makes
Energy.
it takes glucose, makes it to energy.
Energy.
What takes energy makes it to glucose?
Glycolysis.
Chloroplasts.
Chloroplasts.
So wait a minute. Wait a minute.
He looks
wait a minute.
so disappointed. Wow, we went to the same PA school then because oh, we're going to chloroplasts.
I'm just kind of over here thinking. So plants said, "Heck, this was so good. Let's do it again."
No, no. For a long time, no, we had the cyanobacters.
Mhm.
That they have something like instead of chloroform, cyanoform, or whatever you want to call it, that take the energy of the sun, turns it into energy.
Don't some forms of like plankton still have that instead?
Some plants
They do.
still have
Oh.
that. That's so it's successful enough that it's not died out.
Mhm.
But then comes this bacteria, say, look at that, I have something, it's called chloroform. I just came up with it. Look at that. It is so efficient to take the sun's energy to make a glucose. In that path that you guys learn in the school. And then another cell says, how? I'm going to throw all my cyano things away. Come in, you come in, let's go together. And then all the algae, all the plants, all the trees later on, and so on and so forth, are the continuation of that line. So mitochondria and the chloroplast are
The most, what to say? Not
efficient,
efficient bacteria.
successful bacteria.
Okay.
Okay.
I feel like I have to text my high school science teacher
I
and
think-
just
Isn't science fun when you understand those intricate connection? Isn't it fun? And
I feel
they kill our curiosity in the school.
If
Mhm.
we would have Googled that, if you would have given us permission to Google that, we would probably not have gotten that answer.
Well, yeah, eventually you would have, but I've probably read 200 books about all of this. So you're getting the accumulation knowledge of many, many books, many,
Mhm.
tens of years of education and so on and so forth. But the idea is the knowledge is out there and the knowledge is fun. It blows your mind.
It
It
does.
opens up your horizon.
yeah, I feel like I don't know if it sounds super nerdy or not, but I feel like this was just the biggest plot twist from Game of Thrones for
Oh,
me.
for
I
sure.
just somebody just came out and said, "Hey, you know that guy you've known forever?
That
He's
mitochondria.
actually ancient and he's secretly a bacteria." I know nobody wanted to tell you, but here it is. End of season reveal. Have fun. See you next year.
Also,
Like-
that Ebola kills 95+% of people.
And that makes it
still blows-
unsuccessful.
Exactly, because
That
it
makes it
kills
unsuccessful.
off before it
This,
can
the
spread.
same way that 10 wolves that kill and eat all the deer are going to starve
Mhm.
and die. It's so trivial. You see, when you look at the truth of biology, it's
Mhm.
everything so obvious, so clear in front of you. You just have to once look at it with different eyes, and then you get it. Have you guys heard about that term, the Columbus egg?
Columbus egg.
Oh.
Columbus egg. Now, Christopher Columbus, this is attributed to him, probably it existed before him, but this is what attributed.
It's one of those
to him.
Churchillian things again.
What a Churchillian thing. See, at Columbus, when he was back, he was a celebrity. Everybody wanted him there. He went to the courts and the things and the philosopher, mathematician. He would give them an egg and say, balance it on one of the eggs, one of the edges. And everybody, this philosopher, mathematician, and so on, they all would break their head. Would you do that? And so on. They couldn't do that. Then he would say, how would you do that? He would take the egg, break one egg end, and then put it there.
Hmm.
Columbus egg is, once you know how to do that, once you see the truth, it's so trivial, so easy.
Hmm.
But when you don't know that, it takes you like billions of years to get there.
Yeah.
But then when you figure it out, and then you're always wondering, how did I not figure it out before?
Those are my favorite. I call them
like-
aha moments.
Like the circular DNA of the mitochondria and chromoplasts,
Mm.
like their cell wall, how they're organized, that most of the action happens in the walls. That's why they have so many walls that interlocking and so on. The way they literally, they have their own internal information
Mhm.
system and so on and so forth.
It's just like it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, and for a million years I've been calling it a gopher.
Yeah.
It's just
Now, we have to stop here because we are going to talk the surgical infections. But before we go out there, I want to give you another aha moment.
oh please, my
I'm
my
ready.
poor small brain.
Give me an infection that we really sucked for until recently. We really sucked to treat, and we failed, and we were miserable. Give me actually 2 or 3 infections that we were really bad at treating for a very long time.
I mean, like pneumonia. I don't know if we really call ourselves great at
Think about
treating
treating
that.
pneumonia.
Yeah, I say we're pretty good at treating a lot of things nowadays. So
Yeah,
back
but
then,
we are still not as good at those 3 things
Mm.
than some other infections. You know it. I know you know it.
have we said them yet? Because I could start naming infections.
Go ahead.
If I
Say some
start, if I
infection.
say MRSA one more time, you're gonna look at me and be
No, no, no.
like, I know Vengo. It exists.
No, but you know, the problem with MRSA is resistant to antibiotics
Right.
because we just pour it everywhere we can. But there are 3 kind of infection that we always have sucked to treat that. By the way, one of them is the most killer on the planet still.
Oh.
You know it. Go. Africa, South Asia, even in United States until few.
Oh, like cholera or something like that?
No, malaria.
Oh. Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah.
So what was the other infection that we were really poor at treating? It used to be called consumption. Because these people are they consume. They will just get thinner and
Botulism?
thinner,
Oh,
thinner
I thought
and
we
died.
assumed it. I'm like, botulism?
No, botulism is a toxin of
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
I don't know.
tuberculosis.
Tuberculosis.
Give me another last one. Give me another infection that this just eats us so slowly. And it's so that it works even in the lower temperature. So some animals with a lower temperature, body temperature, or like reptiles and so on, they have more than human, and you can get it from some reptile. Leprosy.
Oh,
Leprosy.
So what do have?
Haven't heard of that
leprosy-
one in a hot minute.
What do have leprosy? Leprosy less, but let's say malaria and tuberculosis. What do they have so in common? Why do we suck at treating them? Still,
I
we
feel
suck
like
at treating
a
them.
large part of it is, and this is kind of, I think, maybe doubles back a little bit to why they didn't come immediately to mind. We spend so much time trying to prevent them
Right.
that we don't really go for treatment per se. You know, a lot of
No,
times
we
you get
suck
to it.
at treating them, so we spend a lot of money and effort to prevent them because we suck at treating them. Still we
Yeah.
do. Compared to other infections, we suck at treating malaria and
Mm.
tuberculosis and so on. We have, like, for tuberculosis, you have to give them multiple.
Oh my gosh,
Absolutely.
for months, and they are
Mm.
terrible side
We
effect
still suck at
medications.
treating them. Why? Why are we suck at treating malaria and the tuberculosis and even leprosy? You know, if you get it, it's so hard to treat and
Is-
so. Why?
Because it's found in third world countries more often, and is that where less money for?
No, it's not about just money. They are
Studies?
just different than other bacteria. They're just different than other agents that make us sick.
I mean, that kind of makes sense because not that this is a necessarily good advantage or whatnot, but one of the reasons I had always heard that sickle cell had developed in the first place was because if you have sickle cell, you're not
Can't
getting
get
malaria.
Well, look at that. For millions of years, it was
Sickle cell
advantageous
trait.
to have sickle cell
Mm.
trait,
Trait.
Yes.
to something that would kill you
Mhm.
because malaria would kill you even more.
Yeah, which is
So,
that's insane to think about.
That is
You know,
insane.
Mhm.
But you see that there, it has been a fight
Mhm.
between malaria and our body, that our body sometimes says, if you have the trait, I prefer that. So you have some advantage. So I'm not going to kill this genetic mutation completely.
Mhm.
Well, once in a while, both chromosomes are going to be have sickle cell
Yeah,
anemia,
and
then
then-
you're screwed
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so on. But but even beyond that, does our regular antibiotic work on
No.
malaria, and why not?
shot
So
built different.
They are
So
built
what-
different.
what if I would tell you that at certain point, certain plants, they said we are tired of creating energy from the sun. We want to get into body of those animals. We want to eat them now. So, and those single cell algae, they lost their chloroform. They mutated a lot. But the origin of both malaria agent and tuberculosis is actually plant origin. That's why usual bacteria antibiotic doesn't work on them, because they just, you give them something that would destabilize the cell wall and say, we don't have that cell wall. And so on. So they are
Interesting.
descendant of plants.
Okay, interesting. Because I mean, I know we have a bunch of antifungal agents or whatnot. You know, fungus kind of a different category, but of
Yeah.
course, it's not.
But fungus and plant and bacteria are different. Fungus
Yes,
are,
exactly.
yeah.
So it's
This is not a fungus. They are not
Mhm.
fungus. They are the
Yeah.
descendant, they are not plants, but they're descendant of plant cells or algae.
Mhm.
And that's why our regular things
Yeah.
are suck at
I mean,
that.
that kind of checks out because there's this mysterious fourth category, I guess, when I think of infections, because, you know, I think of bacteria, I think of viral, and I think of fungal, and now we've got whatever we've got these guys in. And they're pretty endemic. They're not great to have, and you know, a lot of the times in those countries too, they're pretty prevalent. But
And-
when you think about it, it's really just kind of this pocket, like this category of
Yeah. And because they are not efficient in killing us,
Mhm.
bacteria are very efficient in killing us if they want to.
Yeah, they're just too proliferative, you know.
Yeah. Malaria, and they're not as efficient of killing us
Mhm.
because the same reason. The biology and our biology is so different, they cannot hijack our biology to kill us like
Mhm.
bacteria can do.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But because they are so different, our regular antibiotic doesn't work on them. So they become more chronic kind of situation. They consume us. They little by little, they just take our resources away. So we
Yeah.
die of lack of resources rather than just have a gangrene and
Mhm.
septic and die.
Yeah, you're not
Like-
drowning in your lungs because of the tuberculosis. It's going to make this grandiose little cavity over here, and then eventually, maybe one day it'll get bad again.
One day, then you're so weak that the bacterial infection could kill you.
Exactly.
Opportunistic.
Yeah. Okay. Anything
Yeah,
else?
I think we got very sciencey into this. I think
Yeah.
for that.
Yes.
I'm going to be thinking about that on the way home.
Better be dreaming about that.
Well, this is Essence of Science. We talked about bacteria and viruses. My name is Alyssa Haber.
Dominic Moore.
And I'm Dr. Abbasi for Essence. And don't forget, this was